Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're talking about headlamps. More specifically, ThruNite has a new headlamp model. This is the TH10 V2 or version 2. And before I get into the details about this one specifically, I just want to talk about headlamps in general, because people will always ask me when I do videos on different types of gear, what do you use it for? Give me some examples. And it's easy to say like, hey, why do you carry a knife? Well, to cut stuff. That's kind of a smart aleck response. People want to know exactly what you're cutting with your knives, just like, what are you using your flashlights for? These questions usually come from people who don't carry this type of gear, and they never think they ever need it. When the truth is, everyone needs knives, and most people use flashlights. If you're not using a flashlight, you're using someone else's flashlight, or using a light source that's already there. The idea, obviously, behind flashlights is to illuminate something in the dark when light is not available. So instead of relying on other people to provide light for you, you carry light with you, right? Now, the concept behind a headlamp is to have hands-free light. So you can use both of your hands to manipulate something or work on a project, or who knows what. Maybe you just want to keep it in your pocket to keep them warm in the winter. Regardless, that's the point of a headlamp, is to have hands-free lighting. Now, of course, there's a ton of different headlamps on the market, from $6 or $7 for a cheap one from Walmart, all the way on up to hundreds of dollars for an extremely bright, probably semi-custom headlamp. It's actually pretty interesting. I'm just thinking now, I don't think I've ever seen a full-blown custom headlamp before. I have seen custom flashlights, just like custom knives. It's a pretty big, interest for people who are into gear. But I don't know. That's an interesting question. Have you ever seen a full-blown custom headlamp? Let me know down in the comment section. But anyway, we're not talking about custom headlamps, talking about production ones that people can just buy. I have three on the table here. Obviously, the new one, which we're going to talk about. I also have my go-to, which is the TH30. All right, this one is offering a little bit more light than this one. This is also more expensive, however. And then my wife's favorite, which I sometimes borrow, this is the TH20. All right, and of course, they're all going to have pros and cons. Obviously, price is a consideration for most people. Battery source, how easy it is to use, different types of modes, how light or heavy it is. That could be a pro or con. For example, my wife happens to really like the TH20 simply because it is lightweight and it takes a single AA battery. All right, so she doesn't have to worry about charging 18650s. All right, she also prefers the light to be centered. It's just kind of a pet peeve that these have LEDs that are off-centered to the middle of, where this is sticking on your forehead. All right, these happen to be so bright that you can't tell. On lower light modes, maybe you can tell, that it's coming from an off-centered direction as opposed to right in front of you. But I don't usually use these on lower modes. It's nice to have the lower modes because sometimes you're doing something that's literally right in front of you and you don't want 2,000 or 3,000 lumens. It's just overkill and actually anti-productive. All right, it can actually make it harder to see when it's too bright. And obviously another advantage to this one, besides being cheaper, is that you can see it just has a single strap in comparison to these. That's because it's a lot lighter. Smaller, lightweight, all right, easier to keep on your head, specifically in the summertime. And this is a huge point I want to make here, because when it comes to warm weather, that's when I gravitate towards the smaller headlamps. And I do have a couple just cheapo, $10, $15, and $20 headlamps from a variety of different companies that I like in the summertime when it's just a headlamp on my head. And usually when I have that is if I'm walking around the block or something for exercise, or if I'm just hanging out outside and it happens to be, dusk, or I know I'm going to be outside when it gets dark. I always like to have a headlamp on me. But in the summertime, it makes a huge difference. Having something like this or this that's super heavy in the summer, you could feel that. It feels like a big weight on your head. Now, in the wintertime, it's completely different because I have a ton of different gear on, which I'll explain exactly why I'm going to use this one, or the purpose of having this one, and why I have been using this one. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. There's obviously pros and cons depending on, which model you get for whatever reasons. But specifically, my wife likes the fact that it's a single AA battery. You don't have to worry about charging it. Once the battery's dead, you throw it out. Everyone could find AA's everywhere. The light is centered and it's small and lightweight, okay? And for me, the opposite applies. This one can't get nearly as bright as this, okay? This looks like this on low, you know what I mean? So for me, I just want a ton of light, and I don't mind the extra weight. So what am I using this headlamp for? Or what have I used these two for, which I'm going to continue to do with this one? Well, now that it's wintertime, the most use I get out of my headlamps is for snow removal. I have a fairly large driveway that's a really odd shape, all right? And although I have outdoor lighting from the house, it doesn't illuminate the entire driveway. So whether I'm shoveling, hand shoveling snow, or I'm using my snowblower, which does not have its own light source, I need light. I need to see what I'm doing, not only for my own safety, but also for the convenience of knowing what I'm doing. Obviously, it's going to be slippery out there when there's snow and sleet and ice and stuff, and I have to be able to see. Now, I am kind of tinkering with the idea of permanently mounting something on my snowblower, because my snowblower does not have like a headlight or something. Some models do. They do have a light that's affixed to the snowblower itself. Mine does not. So I might, if you guys have ideas or suggestions for that, that's pretty cool. I'll look into that in the future. But when using a headlamp as I'm snowblowing, if I turn to the left because I heard a noise or I want to look at something, the light follows me. All right, again, an advantage to having a headlamp as opposed to just having lighting on, the snowblower itself. If I turn, the snowblower doesn't, you know what I mean? So anywhere I look, the light follows me. That's obviously a huge advantage. Although I wouldn't mind both. I like to have it on the snowblower as well. So for me, I want to be able to see my entire driveway. That's why I do opt for a much higher power headlamp as opposed to something that's smaller, lighter, convenient like this. It just does not have enough power for me to comfortably see everything that I'm doing. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a little bit more heavy and cumbersome, but I don't mind that, particularly in the wintertime, because I'm carrying so much other gear. I have probably 10 to 15 pounds worth of stuff on me between all the layers of clothing that I have, heavy boots, I wear snow pants, like overall snowsuit. I wear a big jacket that's waterproof. I have a full, thick hood, like a Carhartt hood with just an eye slot. I have goggles on. So I have so much stuff, particularly on my head as well, that I don't even feel the weight of a larger headlamp like this. It doesn't matter. I'm walking around like an astronaut out there when I'm doing snow stuff, because I'm usually out there for an hour to 2 hours, sometimes even more, depending on, how bad the snow is. So I want to stay nice and warm and comfortable, and I obviously need that light to last. Now, again, one of the disadvantages of having this in that particular situation is I do change my batteries. Having it on the turbo mode is not really an option because it only lasts a couple minutes. It doesn't matter what the light is. These extreme outputs, they drop fairly quickly, not only because of the heat, but just because of the battery source. So like, if something's rated for 2,000 lumens or 3,000 lumens, it's not going to last you an hour. It lasts a couple minutes, then it drops down. However, the high outputs, not the turbos, but I do use all these on high, that's sufficient enough in a larger package like this with a bigger battery source, all right? So that's what I'm actually using this for. I'd love for you guys to comment down below, what do you use your headlamps for? Obviously, there's certain situations where I'm doing some kind of a project and I need a hands-free light, but that's a little bit more rare. Something that happens every single year is snowfalls and I need to get rid of it. All right, so I'm consistently using these in the wintertime. And perhaps in the future, if you guys are interested, you can comment down below, but I'll film that. I'll film when I'm outside shoveling and snow blowing and what it looks like to me with something like this on. It's just very convenient. Anywhere I look, the light is there, all right? And usually a lot of these snowstorms end up happening later in the evening. And like if I know I'm gonna get 3 feet of snow or even 2 feet of snow, I don't go out there when there's 2 feet of snow. I go out there every 6 or 7 inches to make sure that it's easier to get rid of. I'll take care of the storm and the snow that's falling in sections or layers, so it's not that difficult. Some people are the opposite. They wait till a storm's completely over and then they try to get rid of it all at once. That's one way to attack it. I just find it easier and more effective to hit it in layers as it's coming. So again, write down in the comments what you guys specifically use your headlamps for. But that's pretty much what I'm using it for. In the summertime, usually have it on when I'm walking around the block and stuff, if I happen to take Gus for a walk, or if I'm walking myself for exercise purposes. But again, heavily prefer something lighter weight, don't need as much light, as opposed to the wintertime where that's where these beasts come out and I just need a lot more light to last a lot longer for my own safety. So this one specifically, now obviously, as I've shown in the past, all these ThruNite headlamps do come out of their holders. This is just a rubber. You can use this as a pocket light, okay? Obviously they're angled heads, but if you're using this as a headlamp and you just want to hold it in the hand and use it like a regular flashlight, you could certainly do so by removing them. All right, and then in the same case, they all rotate in that rubber, I guess a mount is what you'd call it, right, to angle those. So you can just rotate it around depending on if you want it straight with your eye level or if you want it facing down. In the case of the summertime when I'm walking, I don't have it straight out, I have it facing down because as cars are passing me, if First of all, it's a huge must in my particular area when walking around because I don't have sidewalks, right? There is not a sidewalk for miles, literally. So if I want to take a walk and anyone else bike riding, walking their dogs, they're all on the side of a road in a very small shoulder. So it's kind of dangerous to begin with, but you have to be seen. I see people walking at night when it's dark wearing all black. Not very smart. So when I'm walking, I have a headlamp on, I have it actually on, and I have it facing the ground. All right, so it's illuminating my entire body and the ground all around where I'm walking. So someone driving down the road, not only do they see me very easily, all right, so they don't hit me, but I'm also not distracting them. If you have this facing out and you look into a car, guess what you're doing? You're shining light into a moving car and they can't see where they're driving. Also not very smart. All right, so just a very handy thing to have for all different purposes. All right, so let's take a look at what actually comes with this light. This does take an 18650, which is included when you get it. When you first get these, there's going to be a little plastic tab, all right, that keeps the connection. All right, so it saves that battery and shipping. You want to remove the piece of plastic. This one comes with a 3100 milliamp hour 18650, the lithium rechargeable battery. All right, it does come with a charging cord, as well as this one has a charging port on the side. All right, so you peel that piece of rubber back and you have your charging port. All right, the charging cable. Since having this, I only charged it up once, still fairly new. Of course, your specs, which I like that they provide, saves me a lot of time because I can do this, and you guys can pause your screen right there to get all the details. But just in case you can't read that, or maybe you're listening to the video and not watching it, I will tell you that the full output, let me zoom in because this is pretty small text here, 2,100 lumens on high, but you can see, it's nice they show this. I don't know if they've showed this on older models, but that is the output when it drops down. All right, like I said, it's only going to be a couple minutes on the turbo. All right, so after those couple minutes are up, it's going to drop down to 753 lumens. Okay, and here's the run times as well. So 2,100 lumens for 2 minutes, and then it drops down to 753 lumens for 73 minutes. All right, high 1,100 lumens for 90 minutes, medium 350 for 4 hours. Medium low is 138 lumens for 13 hours, low 37 lumens for 57 hours. Firefly, which we know is ridiculous, the 1 lumen for 40 days, which we know has been proven twice to be accurate. And then SOS, 630 lumens for 285 minutes. The SOS thing, I talk about it all the time. It's extremely rare you'll ever use that. It's nice to have the feature in there, but if you're not specifically, going out in the middle of the wild somewhere, you'll never use that. Even if you're stranded on the side of the road in 2018, someone will help you at some point. But you never know. So some people do prefer it. All right, so besides that, we also get a spare mount, which is very cool. Because this is a soft, pliable rubber, it's very possible, especially like I said before, if you're going to be taking this light in and out of the mount, that it's possible to rip. So instead of waiting for people to tell you that it's ripped and sending more, they give you a spare right off the bat with the flashlight. Okay, I think that's a pretty nice touch. A lot of companies don't do that. We have another spare cover for the charging port. All right, again, soft rubber or softer rubber. So if that happens to tear or rip, you do have a spare. All right, there's also an O-ring in there. And this one also has a pocket clip if you do decide to not carry it as a headlamp. Now, what some people do, I don't personally do it, although I don't do it currently, I should say, but I have done it before, is I will keep a headlamp strap and mount inside my car in a bag or something, and then EDC the actual flashlight itself. So this way you just have a normal flashlight in your pocket, or let's say in your bag if you're not carrying it on you, and then at any point in time, if you need to have it hands-free, you do have that strap and mount on you or close by where you can put it together and have a headlamp. It's just a pretty nice option to have there. So this one works pretty much like all the other ones. I do like that ThruNite is pretty consistent as far as their UI or user interface. Buttons right on top here, okay? So actually, let's start from the off position. If you hold it down, you get that firefly mode, all right, that 1 lumen, which looks on camera here a little bit brighter than 1 lumen, but in person it's not quite as bright. And then of course, when turning it on, you can hold the button down to cycle through. Low, oh, there's our SOS. I'll wait for it to go back through the modes. Low, medium, high, and then I guess, our turbo and SOS. All right, when you double click, it goes right to the turbo, however. All right, so that's usually what I'm using this for in the high mode or the turbo mode. Pretty rare that I use headlamps in the lower modes. Maybe once in a blue moon if I'm doing something. Again, I'm outside, I have that big light output, but I want to, look at something close up. Maybe I'm looking at a part on the snowblower or something like that. I'll drop it down to one of the lower modes, but generally speaking, I'll turn it on and I will cycle, to high or something, so I have that longer runtime. All right, but it's only on these bigger flashlights that it's capable of having that higher output for longer durations of time. Something like this would work okay. Like if I was going to use this for snow blowing or snow shoveling, I would have to just have a bunch of spare batteries. All right, it's not quite as bright as I would like it. I could probably get away with doing it. It wouldn't be as effective, but my biggest problem is I have used this in a pinch before when my other gear just wasn't, easily found, or I need to go out real quick. This is always by our door. That's where my wife keeps it because she's smart. Sometimes I keep my gear packed away different places, and in a pinch when I need it real quick, I don't always know where it is because I just have a bunch of crap everywhere. But she knows where her stuff is, and I have grabbed this in a pinch real quick, and it has gotten me by before, but again, it's pretty weak in comparison with those outputs. But anyway, there's just some brief information on this particular light, but more so on headlights in general. I would love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear your opinions and your experiences with headlamps. Do you use them? Have you used them? Even if you don't, actually use one all the time or have a need for one, if you're one of these people that like to have preparations and you buy different gear for what-if moments, a headlamp setup is great for a what-if moment. It doesn't have to be an expensive one like this. This I consider to be expensive. These are 60 bucks. The average person, going to Lowe's and buying a $10 flashlight for their junk drawer, probably not going to spend $60 on a headlamp. They do make very cheap, $10 or $15 headlamps as well. You might want to consider something like that. But if you're into your gear or you do have a need for higher outputs and more modes and things like that, then that's when you might want to consider something like these models. But anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. And let me know down in the comments again if you want to see a video of me using the headlamp during a snowstorm or something. There's going to be plenty this year. I have a feeling it's going to be a long winter. So just let me know. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.